Hi, my name is Susan Owens and welcome to the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Today we are talking all about Ireland's bid to reach their first World Cup in 24 years. Of course, it's gotten off to a very smashing start, but it all depends on that playoff. So, joining me today to discuss all about that is Miguel Delaney from The Independent. So, we cannot start without talking about Troy Parrott. The way he's stepped up has been unbelievable, scoring 5 goals in the 2 games, becoming the first ever Republic of Ireland player to score a hat-trick in any away game. I mean, is this expected at all?
Well, it's a weird one with Troy, I suppose, because he had once been seen as the great hope of Irish football. There's real talent
Yeah.
there. Tottenham had great aspirations for him when he was there. Just for a few different reasons, though, it didn't quite work out, and he just was a case, I suppose, of a player who had to step back and go in a different direction to start maximizing what he's got. And I think that's what we're seeing now. He's found, a setting that suits him at AZ Alkmaar, and that started to kind of really proliferate. He started to find his feet for Ireland. Obviously, I think there are other elements like the formation suited him, the setting suited him, and yeah, I think we were seeing a player that feels released, and hence, even the kind of, I suppose it's interesting because the first goal against Portugal was a little bit of a poacher's finish, an opportunistic goal, and then the second was Parrott really expressing himself, as was a lot of the Hungary game.
Yeah.
I think it's a player belatedly and thankfully coming into his own.
Yeah, and like when you think of the end of that Hungary game, that moment, like him sliding through, like everyone just celebrating massively. I know obviously you were a very established journalist, but as an Ireland fan, like how can you even express can you express what that meant to you?
Well, the biggest thing I suppose is, look, as a journalist, I suppose, look, my main job now is covering England,
Yes.
for international football, and I joined the Independent in January 2017. So since then, I think I've only done a handful of Ireland games, and in that time, which is close to a decade now, I'd never felt envious of not being at Irish matches because it was like,
Yeah.
obviously things had not been going well. The team had actually become a little bit of a joke in Ireland. Whereas on Sunday, I felt very envious that I wasn't there, because it felt like it was, a moment of national team history. I'd covered some of our bigger moments before that, and it was just you. And yeah, from kind of from speaking to people, from just kind of witnessing the celebration, it's Ireland's biggest moment, I would say, at least since Euro 2016. But the context around it actually, I think, makes the feeling of it more profound, more acute, because where some of this might have been expected in 2016, there was an element that they were in a 14 group where 3 teams went through all this. This wasn't expected. I think that only deepens it, and actually kind of accentuates all of the emotion.
Yeah, I say I came into the week maybe not even thinking about watching them. Like, as in, in my mind, story was done kind of thing. I've
Yeah.
kind of written it off in my head. But after that first Portugal game, it was like, I don't know, I felt like I was watching a completely different team than I've been watching for the last few
Yeah.
years. And do you think that kind of, the noise in the Aviva and, the travelling away fans and the memes, they're already trying to call Dublin Airport Parrott International Airport. Do you think that helps the team and makes them kind of go further and go harder? Because, international football is not just about football, it's about like identity as well.
Yeah. Well, look, the Irish team since 1988, essentially, from 1988 to at least, I would say, 2010, it was kind of Ireland's main event. It was the bit.
Yeah.
There was obviously, like, you only had to look at the way kind of Jack's Army and all that was received. And we're talking about proper heroes. And the last decade, rugby was obviously on its long surge. GAA has always had a particular place, but there was no buzz around the team anymore. They weren't. They were kind of dismissed, derided. I think even in media, they weren't given the same, like, they weren't covered in the same way or to the same extent that rugby was. And now that feels like it's changed again. And it does show as well that in Ireland, okay, it is a rare country where you've got like about 3 or 4 competing sports to be kind of the number one sport, and you can probably throw golf into that as well. But to my mind and from experience, nothing gets the country going quite as much as the national football team, and that is linked to other aspects. Think like what 1988 and 1990 meant, given the kind of where the country was at the time, and also the fact that there's nothing like the World Cup. It's the ultimate.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing as big No kind of no stage is big. Nothing has the same meaning because nothing crosses many borders in terms of significance as the World Cup. And all of this, of course, is linked to Italia '90 and what that meant for Ireland as well.
Yeah, and I do think when you go back through the history and like the golden generation and like even like Saipan, that whole incident, and of course Italia '90, I think they're kind of almost like pillars in the way
Yeah,
Irish kids, I think, grow up. Like you don't remember as much, but I have really clear, like really fond memories of that summer of 2016
yeah, yeah.
because of there was that element of, and then we all went to the beer garden and we watched this and then we did that. Um, but I do think like, I mean, the Ireland women's team has obviously seen a lot of qualifying success, and now we're starting to now picture that, you know, fingers crossed that the men are in a similar position. But how do you see the campaign then? Like you said, everyone is passionate about their national sport, but how can this campaign influence Irish football more broadly? Like we're big into our other sports, but for youth development, momentum, like seeing more Irish players become professional, do you think it comes from watching teams in World Cups?
Yeah, look, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest effects of qualifying for a tournament is, of course, the effect on the youth and everyone wanting to play. Ireland have missed a lot of that for the past few decades where qualifications are more sporadic. I would also say there's a link to the country didn't maximise what it had between 1988 to 2002. The structures weren't as they could have been. There's a long debate you could have about the role of the FAI, how it's been subject to government inquiries, the role of the League of Ireland and all of that. But the only thing that can solve that actually in the quickest and most dramatic way is actually success. I think that's what this will do. I mean, suddenly it's positive association with the team. It's a team creating a buzz. It's a team, giving people a chance to be innocently happy.
Yeah, yeah, it does feel that way. And in kind of the most wild setting as well, like the potential of, you know, America, Canada, or Mexico. It's just mad to even think that, you know, Ireland fans will be there too, potentially, of course. But do you see it happening? Like, do you see, like, what are their kind of hurdles to get over to get through this playoff, do you think?
Well, I mean, look, the draw is on Thursday, so all of that is dependent on who we play.
Yeah.
But the one thing I would say is the whole kind of outlook of the team, the perception, the confidence, that's all transformed now. And like they've made themselves into a team that's hard to play against. And that they've got, I think, unlike a week ago, they've got a real fighting chance of getting through now.
Yeah.
Something has transformed this team. And on the other side, I don't think anyone would actually like to play them.
No, I mean, one of the few games where you see Ronaldo get sent off to Aviva.
Yeah. First time in his career, in his international career.
It's that was a moment for sure, especially, you know, seeing the Irish fans reacting to that in the stadium. I don't think he loved that one, to be fair. The Ireland team is obviously not a one-man band. Players like Collins and O'Shea in defence. Do you think Ireland is kind of looking more solid now as we go into this as well?
So the one thing I would say, to be fair, Hallgrimsson was obviously experimenting with a few different formations. As things got drastic, he did resort to something a bit more defensive that suited the games. I think there's a legitimate question over what happens in a match where Ireland have to go out and play, where they have to be the dominant team. So I think that was almost a great frustration of the defeat to Armenia, which felt such an nadir, because Hallgrimsson played a more defensive, kind of reactive formation. Where, and look, that approach suited Portugal. It didn't completely suit Hungary, but I think circumstances intervened. And it might now end up suiting these knockout games. Although again, of course, it really depends who we play. But yeah, one of the offsets has given greater stability. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think Kelleher's position in that goal is almost crucial to Ireland's success?
I mean, at the moment, outside Parrott, you'd probably say he's the closest thing to kind of a top level player we've got.
Yeah.
He's unflappable. He doesn't make mistakes, and of course, beyond that, there was also the way he actually had it was his quick thinking, his eye, that actually proved so crucial to Parrott's big goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so if we are going to see the fans in America, Canada, or Mexico this summer, Where do you think that they'd want to be most? What city do you think suits Ireland's vibe? Because I think, like, you've seen some quite, even from 2016, of, you know, them cleaning up the streets and all these kind of things. I'm kind of thinking we could do quite well in Canada.
I mean, look, there's the obvious residents because, of course, we've been to USA for a World
Yes.
Cup before '94, and like one of the greatest moments of Irish history was. Our great Irish football history, Irish sporting history, was the 1-0 win over Italy in the Giant Stadium. Now the Giant Stadium is now it's a different stadium, but it's the same place. It attracted so many people from like the Irish diaspora there, the Irish American community. I mean, I think that was that sort of shocked Italy on the day actually, that the stadium was so filled with Irish fans, especially because I thought that New York was an Italian American city. Now the stadium is strictly in New Jersey, but it's always considered kind of in the New York footprint, if you like. So I think just given all that, given the people, given the surroundings, given the atmosphere, they'd want to play at least one game in New York, preferably a big knockout game, or sorry, a big kind of decisive game that might decide whether we get through or not. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. I think they still get through the playoffs, but yeah, I think there's an obvious resonance. It actually only sharpens the desire to get there in terms of just because of what that would represent and the echoes of history.
Yeah, I think I would really enjoy watching Irish Americans and Irish people coming together. I think that is kind of the main spirit of football and stuff as well. So, Miguel, thank you so much for joining me today.